Welcome to the Idea Sandwich. I'm Ara Topouzian. This is your bite of creative thinking and real-world strategy, where I share practical insights and lessons to help you lead better, think bolder, and spark your next great idea. I spend a lot of time interviewing people for a variety of different podcasts, and here's something I've noticed over and over again. People say, a lot. A lot. Once you start noticing it, you can't unhear it. It's like a verbal hiccup that pops every few seconds. It's so annoying. Sorry, I couldn't resist it. And here's the thing. Some of the smartest, most articulate people I've ever interviewed are guilty of it. I'll be having this great conversation, and in the middle of a brilliant thought comes another then another, and another. If you've ever tried editing a podcast, you know what I'm talking about. Every becomes a little speed bump. They're harmless at first, but by the 50th one, you're seriously considering switching careers. I'll sit there listening to the playback thinking, oh no, here comes another one. And there it is, another One time I recorded a podcast, and no joke, the number of I deleted add up to 2 full minutes of audio. 2 minutes. Can you imagine that? It only takes about a half a second to say So that's a lot of uhs. By the end, I felt like I had edited an entire symphony of hesitation. Whenever I prep someone for an interview, I don't have a long list of instructions. I like to keep it casual, conversational. That's the point. But I do give one piece of advice. Try not to say I'll joke about it, but I really mean it. Because no matter how good the content is, all those filler words are distracting. And selfishly, it makes editing a nightmare. Now, I'll admit something. I'm not completely innocent here. I've caught myself doing it too. I'll listen back to one of my own recordings and cringe when I hear an sneak in. It's like finding out your voice sounds different on tape, a slightly humbling reality check. But it got me thinking, why do people do this? Do we pepper our sentences with you know, and all these little verbal fillers? What's going on there? It turns out it's not because people don't know what they're talking about. It's because our brains are working overtime. Is basically a space holder. It's your brain's way of saying, hang on, don't stop listening. I'm still thinking. It's like hitting the pause button in real time. Now that makes sense. When you're being interviewed or speaking in front of people, there's pressure. You're trying to sound smart, stay on topic, and not forget your point. Meanwhile, your mouth is moving faster than your thoughts, and your brain is like, wait, hold on, I need a second. So it sends out an as a placeholder while it catches up. The problem is, while it feels harmless, those filler words can completely change how you're perceived. When you're speaking on a podcast, giving a keynote, or leading a meeting, makes you sound uncertain, even when you're not. It's the vocal equivalent of shaky body language. I had this one guest on a podcast who had amazing ideas, brilliant, actually. But his made the episode nearly unlistenable. Every sentence was stitched together with them. I remember editing that episode thinking, if I remove every we'll have a 5-minute show left. Now, here's where this becomes more than just a podcast gripe, because this isn't only about sounding better on mic. This is about communication, a skill that's essential for leadership, business, and life in general. Think about it. When you're pitching your business, presenting to your board, or answering a question in a job interview, people are listening not to just what you say, but how you say it. Every tells them, even subconsciously, that you're unsure, even if you're not. And the truth is, you probably do know your stuff. You just haven't trained your mouth to slow down and let your brain lead. So how do we fix it? How do we break the habit of saying, First, embrace the pause. Silence is not your enemy. In fact, silence is powerful. It gives your words space to land. When you pause, instead of filling the air, it makes you sound confident, thoughtful, and in control. You don't need to fill every second. Let the silence do the heavy lifting. Second, record yourself. Yes, this is painful. No one likes hearing themselves talk, but it's the only way to notice your patterns. You'll start to realize where your brain panics, and that's where your uhs live. Awareness is the first step. Third, slow down. Most filler words happen because we're rushing. We think faster than we speak, and we try to bridge that gap with a noise. Take your time. People will wait for you, and they'll listen more closely when you give them space to absorb what you're saying. Fourth, replace the with something intentional. If you need a second, say something that buys time in a more confident way. Try, "That's a great question," or "Let me think about that for a second." Those phrases gives you room to breathe without making you sound unsure. And finally, breathe. It sounds obvious, but we forget to breathe when we talk, especially when we're nervous. Breathing naturally forces a pause, and a pause is infinitely better than a filler. Now, if you're a leader or business professional, this is more than a speaking tip. It's a strategic skill. Learning to communicate without filler words builds trust. It makes people believe in you, not just because of your message, but because of your presence. In the business world, confidence is often silent. The people who can speak clearly, pause naturally, and control their pace always stand out. They're the ones that people remember. I've seen it in the boardrooms, on stages, and during networking events. You can tell immediately who's comfortable in their own skin, and it's rarely the person who talks the fastest or fills every second with noise. It's the person who's okay with silence, the one who knows that a pause doesn't mean weakness, it means composure. And if you're an emerging leader, take this as your cue. Mastering your speech isn't about memorizing talking points. It's about mastering your pauses. Because whether you're presenting to your team, pitching an idea, or on a podcast, your words carry more power when they're delivered with clarity and calm. For me, as a podcast host, this has been a fascinating thing to observe. Over time, I can tell who's had media training and who hasn't, just by how they handle silence. The ones who can stop, breathe, and think out loud without a single those are the people who command the mic. And here's the funny part. Once you learn to drop the you start noticing it everywhere. You'll be watching a TV interview or sitting through a presentation and think, there it is. That's another one. It's like a curse you can't turn off, but it also means your ear and your brain are sharpening. You're becoming a more intentional communicator. So here's the takeaway. If you want to sound more confident, more credible, and more composed, start by mastering your silence. Embrace the pause. Let your thoughts catch up to your words. Because great communication isn't about speaking more, it's about speaking better. And the people who do that well aren't just good talkers. They're the ones people actually listen to. Thank you for listening to the Idea Sandwich. If today's episode sparked an idea or inspired a shift in how you think, share it or reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious and keep building your next great idea.